Hi folks, and welcome back to Old Rusty, and this is the first episode in 2019, and as you can tell it is pretty cold, but nevertheless we're going to fix the front part of the Old Rusty outer sill. Last year the last thing we did was fixing the outer sill right here underneath the door, so now we need to fix the front part. And I'm not going to make a big template or anything because it's a very small area, but we're going to cut it most likely along a line here and then kind of bend the sheet metal in the form we need to have it. It's not going to be that complicated, and then we'll weld it into place. There is one tricky area, which is this little area, and let me give you a little bit of a close-up on what I mean with that. So you might see this little edge here. This is kind of rounded off, but now first of all we need to look where we're going to cut it, because I suspect that this truck has been repaired before, and I would be surprised if it wasn't, because I see some lead over here, so it's been fixed before. I need to find some good common sheet metal to start welding in. So I'm going to grind it off first a little bit and then see where I should cut it. A good way to take the paint off is an abrasive wheel on your grinder, and that just works great. So let's have a look. Well, it looks like this is good, but here you can actually see the lead filler from a previous repair and some polyester patches. So I think I will cut it along that line. Yeah. And we cut it across just above these rust holes. And then I think I'm gonna probably cut the old one on this edge here. Just there. And that will do the trick. So I will be using a very thin cutting wheel for most of it, and on the edge here, because it's curved, I'm going to use a Dremel for that purpose. So now I need to cut it along this edge. I'm going to be using a what they call a Dremel, but I guess they exist in different kind of models, and this is a very small and very thin discs, and it's easy to cut these little edges. In fact, if it's a bit more worn, it's even better. So let's start cutting it. So here we have it, our previous built inner sill, the support that we put in on the bulkhead. I'm going to cut off an old piece here that is no longer needed. It's cold, guys. Anyhow, we've got the piece taken off, and this is now the kind of stuff we have to bend out of sheet metal. I don't think this is going to be very hard. It's not a very complex model. So let me just take the measurements, and then I can actually cut it out of a piece of sheet metal, and then we start bending. So this is about 40 centimeters, and I'm going to make it 15 high. And then we'll see how we're going to bend it, and then finally cut it a bit more and trim it, and then we're going to weld it on. So let me go and get a piece of sheet metal first. There we go. If you want to have a straight 90 degrees angle cut, all you got to do is use a rectangle like this, and then, you know, just put it along the edge like so, because the knife or the blade is always parallel with the table, so that's an easy way of doing it. All right, here we have it. So let's double check it, and then we can start. So this is 40, and that's 40, so that's good. So we've got our piece of metal here, and now we can actually start to mark it where we're going to bend it. Okay, so we've got the sheet metal, and now what I need to do is start marking on the sheet metal where we actually have all these small bends, the edges. So this will be one line, that's going to be a line, that's going to be a line, that will be a line, and that will be a line. So it is multiple bends I need to create. Now I am not too much worried about at this moment in time that my sheet metal that I just cut out is a bit bigger than the actual size, because I can always trim it. But nevertheless, I'm going to start marking it, and then we can actually move on. But I think the most important parts are over here to mark. So this is the top, this is the edge, this is the top, the second bend, and here we move it back a bit. We're having the same thing again. That's one edge. It goes up. There's one edge in the middle, and there's one edge. So let me mark that, and before we start bending it. And I know it looks a bit awkward, but that I always found the easiest way for this kind of work. So let me double check if this is a bit right. Yeah, that goes up a bit and it goes down. Yeah, I mean that's more or less where we need to bend it. Obviously, once I have this piece on the bench, I actually will double check. So I'm going to start with bending this edge first, and then I work my way out. That is also why I have sufficient slack on this side now. All right, so let's go to the bench. If you do this kind of work, never throw away the old piece, because you want to look on how it looks like and then form the new piece according to it. If you toss it away, then you're really going to have a problem. And I'll make it go up. I'm not going to push it too much in the first go, because I need to see what the angle is, and this looks like it might be near already. Let me see. And then you keep on comparing things, okay guys? All the time. Sorry. It's like this. Sometimes. Jesus Christ, Steve. Okay. So I keep comparing it. Yeah, and that looks about right. So now I'm going to do the second line. This is a bit awkward. It's a very awkward bend, but you can see I'm starting to get it. It takes a bit of bending, of course, but I think the last one I should have given it a bit more. And you really need to fiddle with this. This is not something that you just do. It just takes a bit of time to get it right. All right, let me see now. So you see this bend, it's getting there. Yeah, I think it probably needs a little bit more. I think this is gonna be right. Okay. And you see how we're getting this bend? But don't hurry up on it. Take your time. Let's see. Yeah, that starts to look good. Now we need to bend it up again. So, hold it against each other, and to me, that looks good. I think that looks about right. And now we need to, of course, continue bending. And now we have an outer bend again. So you can already see how we did this first bend here. This is the original one. This is what we just bended, and it's exactly the same shape. And now we need to do the second bend, which is this one, but I have to remark it. So let's see, we've did the first bend, and here it is. So I can place it over there or on there, and I think that looks quite good. It lines up nicely, and now we need to make this bend here. Now, I had the original lines on it, but they didn't make a lot of sense anymore after we bended this edge. So now I'm going to make 2 more markers so I can rebend this part a bit. I think this starts looking quite all right. Of course, it's way too long still, but that's something we'll fix later. All right. I need to do a down bend, so actually I should put the markers on the other side. So you don't want to bend it too far. Always check how much that is on the old piece. There we go. I think this is about right. Let's compare it again and see if it is. And I think that looks about right. And now I'm going to bend it straight again, which I need to do over here. Let's see if we got this more or less straight. And I think that's about it. So let's have a look. Yeah, that looks quite good to me. All right. So I guess it's time to do a little trial fit and then start marking where we need to trim this panel and where we need to bend it further. So we got a pretty good fit here, I think, at least over here. Don't worry about this little gap. We need to trim it over here. And we'll also have to cut it off at the bottom of the bulkhead. So I'm going to put the marker. And it needs to align in the sill. But you can't see that, guys, but that's sitting around here. So I'm going to keep going on that. And I'm going to put a marker at the inside so I know where to trim it. And then, once we've got that done, I will cut off this piece. And then we'll need to start bending things. The actual bend actually starts over here, and then we roll it over to the back. That will be good. Now, the whole panel by itself is kind of having a slight bend like this, and it also does that movement, so it goes in both directions. So I will have to make sure that I get this actually sorted out while I'm rolling it, because that's probably the only thing I'm going to do with this plate is rolling it on a roller to create this kind of a shape. So let's go and give that a try. On this English wheel, we're going to try actually now to put a curve in this plate. And you do that by just rolling it back and forth. So this is a bit of a lengthy process until you get the shape you want to get. Now this is a difficult model, this piece of metal here, because we got to do it in all kind of directions. So that makes it not always that easy. I might have to tighten it up a bit more. You've seen me bending and rolling this piece of sheet metal. Now it's getting a bit the shape. You can see how it's kind of bent like this. And then also the other direction is bent, but there's still a little bit of work to get it really 100% right. Well, 100% is probably never going to be possible, but it just takes time. So if you take your time, you can get things done pretty correct. I need to hammer it a bit more and bend it a bit more. Let's see, because it's not 100% right yet. Oh, this corner isn't right. Gotta put my glasses on, because without it, I can see darn thing. Okay, so here we go. Now sometimes you might just want to push it with your hands a bit. You don't always need to hammer things. I think this starts to look all right. Let me try to fit it. Okay. Yep. All right. So I think this is quite all right. So the next thing we're going to do is to weld it in place. And before I do that, I'm going to put some extra reinforcement in the back of the original plate. And then we weld it up. But let me show you what I'm about to do. All right, folks, you've seen me rolling and bending and cutting this panel. So now it's as good as ready to go on to the cabin, or cab, as some people told me. So I'm going to butt weld it along this line, and this time I got it right. And then I will also drill some holes and do some plug welding with a plate that I'm going to put in the back. So I'm going to put a plate in the back, half and half, and then weld that in place first, and then I put the front plate on. Now, before I'm going to do that, I'm also going to do some more welding at the inside here now that I have access to it. Not that it's really necessary, but since I do have access to it, I'm going to start welding this, sand this up a bit, and put some primer on. You always need to check if it's not uneven in the back, otherwise it's not going to be that easy to put the backing plate up. So guys, I'm going to weld up these three spots here because now I have access to it. Not that I have to, because it's already been welded at the inside, but I'll still do it anyhow. So I'll do that first. I'm going to do one more. I will have to clamp this in place. That's why these Mickey Mouse clamps are quite good actually. So this is a 1mm seal plate, so I adjusted the MIG. And now I'm about to do the plug weld. Finally, I got it right. I used always to say it wrong, you know. This looks good. So now it's ready to receive the final piece of metal, what we're going to put in. Here it is. And we will weld it in a few minutes. However, first I will spray the inside while I can get at it, and I'm just going to put a primer on. Later, I will actually put some wax inside. All right, so here's our final piece that we created, and now we will need to weld it in place. As you noticed, guys, this was a little bit of fiddling, but that's the way it is with bodywork on vehicles. Meanwhile, I have it all welded in, and I started off with actually welding in the plug holes, and now I actually filled up all the rest with a butt weld all around it. Now I was stitching it little bit by little bit so I don't get too much deformation. I think this is quite alright. All what's left now is to clean it up. So I think the end result is quite alright. I have a small inward dent here, but that's okay. We can fill that up because you can never make it perfect. At least I try to make it perfect, but it doesn't always work. And over here I feel a little bump, but that's going to be filled up together with this part. For the rest, I think it's quite alright. So the primer that I'm going to put on it is not the final one. It's just something so it doesn't start rusting. And anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I know I should have made more videos on Old Rusty, but I can't always. I have also other work to do, so that will be good enough for now. I don't think I need to do much more than this. It's not gonna rust, and it's good to be sandblasted very soon. And after we sandblasted it, I'm actually going to put a lot of tin up in all the uneven areas, and then we should be having a pretty good finished cab or cabin. So thank you so much again for viewing, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.